podcast brought to you by the New Mexico Boys and Girls Ranches. As always, I'm Heath Cull, and we're still social distancing a bit, so I'm doing this solo. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about what our kids are going through right now with this quarantine stay-at-home order stuff going on. We're in New Mexico, so we're still under an order until the 15th of May, and maybe after that. But the quarantine has created a whole big different set of circumstances for kids. And we all have these memories dating back to when we were kids that we remember because of the emotions that were centered around them. And I think this is going to be one of those times for our kids when they get older. And we're going to have to figure out what it is they're going to take away from this, or it's going to be left to chance what they take away from this. Many kids are in school at home. Many kids are dealing with the slightly different teaching style of a parent. The principal may or may not be present at the time of any interactions. There's a lot different, and kids are really having to respond to this. And what we don't realize often is what they're going to take away from it. And it's easy to say that, I was glad to do it and all that stuff, but there's usually key things that get kind of tied around those kinds of things. For my kids right now, it's a little bit difficult. I got two of them that are graduating, one from college and one from high school. Both of those graduations aren't going to happen. So that's a huge milestone in most people's lives, and it's going to be forever altered by this. And that's just the way it is this year. There's nothing I can do about it. I can express frustration. I can understand their frustration. I can embrace the fact that this isn't fair to them. You can do all that kind of stuff. But once you work through those kinds of issues, what are the kids going to remember about their time with you while you were home? Are they going to remember that you were happy that they were there, or are they going to remember that you were inconvenienced by that? And a lot of kids, particularly those that are a little more emotionally sensitive, a little more empathetic, they latch on to these feelings that are associated with certain kind of phrases and words. And a lot of kids that I work with echo the sentiment of being a burden and inconvenience, and you're too much, I can't deal with you, even wait till your father gets home. All of those are indications of an inability to deal with somebody, and kids kind of internalize that, and it kind of lasts a lot longer than we want it to. And so as we go through this, there's a few things, just thinking about what's going to happen when all of this returns to normal. If they look back on this time, do they think, man, my parents would have been happier to be anywhere other than home with me. It was so much more difficult. Will they think that their parents missed time at work more than they enjoyed spending time with their kids? Will they hear this is the teacher's responsibility, not mine? Will they say, here, I can't wait till this is over? These are all things that kind of echo around in a kid's head. And if we don't fill that with something other than those feelings, then those are the ones that become the predominant emotional memories around this time. And so I encourage everybody that's out there that's maybe picking up a textbook for the first time in a while, maybe kind of managing some technology challenges, maybe helping out with different kind of math than you were raised on, to try to embrace it as an opportunity and a challenge and a strengthening of your relationship and time spent together, and try to lay off of the ideas that your life is super inconvenienced by having to be with your children. Now, your life may be inconvenienced, but when it's associated in your kid's mind with them, that's where the real difficulty sets in. You can say, oh man, this is tough for us. We can talk about all of us being in a position where things are different. We can talk about how we're going to do things a little differently than they have been done. I've seen some people that are getting up at 7:30 to start school at 8 with their kids. Okay, that works great. If you relax it and get up a little later, okay, that's great too. What we're talking about, though, is the parental attitude. And what I'm hoping that parents will do is give their kids the distinct impression that that this is an opportunity that outweighs the crisis. So if the crisis is the most important thing, then kids will remember that. If the opportunity was the most important thing, kids will remember that too. First thing I recommend is turn off the news. Watch it for whatever segment a day you want to watch it, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. And turn it off. And don't spend all your time obsessing over, social media, Twitter, and stuff like that, just trying to get those news things. And then try to figure out what the new normal is going to be when you get back to the normal. This normal isn't going to last forever, and the normal before probably isn't ever going to exist exactly the same way again. So what is that new normal going to look like? Is it going to be a little less screen time? Is it going to be a little more face to face? Is it going to be FaceTime or actual face to face time? Those are questions that are easy to answer if you sit down and think about them for a little bit, and then start talking to your kids about what do we want to do differently. One of the things that I have enjoyed about the quarantine time is the amount of meals we've eaten together. We've been able to binge watch a couple of shows together, which is cool. I'm particularly enjoying The Last Dance, the documentary on Michael Jordan. That was a time when I was about my kids' age, when all of the Bulls were winning championships and stuff. So it's kind of cool to look back on that. Those are times spent together. There's a lot of stuff that is like schoolwork being done. Fortunately, I'm able to help and assist with our middle daughter, who's finishing college. So she's got some pretty big projects that we're doing. I'm getting to find out who is lazy in the group project, who doesn't want to actually participate in our big group project. And I'm learning how that's handled and her feelings about that and how she wants to respond to that. I'm also, finding a little bit of patience, because the younger one it's frustrating for her sometimes, and she was able to finish all of her coursework yesterday, so we're very excited for that. And it's just kind of a bummer that her graduation won't happen the way it has for everybody else, and we're going to do some kind of drive-through graduation, and prom got canceled and all those kinds of things. And so those are all things that exist, and they're real frustrations for a kid. Telling a kid that you shouldn't feel that way about those things is probably not going to facilitate a better relationship. I can understand that that's a struggle for you, is a much better way to put it. And as we go forward, though, I'm hopeful that the memories will be around how much time we spent together, the joking around, the more relaxed schedule. I mean, my schedule is a little more relaxed. We're still working. We're essential, but it's not as hectic as it always is. And so I've been staying in one place more, not getting in the truck and driving off as much as I used to, and just spending time with the family and around the kids and eating together and doing stuff together. I hope that continues more when we're done. I hope that I can have the self-discipline to say, you know what, this thing taught us a few things, and one of the things it taught us was to spend the time wisely and to spend time with our kids before we don't have that opportunity more, before they outgrow us, before they are off with their own lives and we're stuck without them every day. And so I've talked to a lot of parents who have struggled with different things during this time, little battles with kids, and I encourage everybody to take a deep breath and talk about it when it's not tense, so that when it becomes tense, you can refer back to what you talked about when it wasn't tense. So many times we wait until something gets awful and then we talk about it, and then the battle is all about the thing. And if the battle is schoolwork, you talk about it. Hey, how do you want to approach this tomorrow? Or what's our plan for next week? And setting up some of those proactive, like an agendas with goals and those kinds of things can really help kids. But also, what's the payoff? I mean, what do they get for doing that? Is it just you being in a bad mood, or you stomping around, or you being cranky, or more cleaning, or what? So in essence, you got to remember that there needs to be a payoff at some point for doing what's expected of you. We're all in jobs where we get a paycheck, but for kids, a lot of times what they need is a payoff. And so making their favorite food, learning a new recipe with them, watching a movie that they want to watch, those all may be things. And yes, I've sat through some movies I hated because somebody else wanted to watch them, and it's okay, it didn't kill me. But I encourage everybody to really take a minute and say, what do I want my kids to take away from this quarantine? What do I want them to remember? What do I want them to be stuck with while they were stuck at home? And then actively try to participate in creating the answer that you want. And listen to your kids if you're not. If they're frustrated or if there's tension, try to work through that. As many people know, you're going to have tension with people the rest of your life. It's an ideal time to start teaching them how to deal with that better than they may have previous. And it's also a good time for you to deal with it better than you have previous. So hug your kids, spend some time with them, make this quarantine something they remember for all the positive reasons. And don't ever forget to raise those kids up in the way that they should go, so they won't deviate it from it when they're older. Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. We'll be back in next week with another episode of the Raise 'em Up.